Hey guys, Mrs. Whigham here with a really quick, good, fast dinner that you can use leftovers. If you have leftover food from Easter, ham would be awesome. If you had chicken, leftover chicken would be awesome. Whatever you have. I just threw in about a tablespoon of bacon fat because that's what I happen to have. You can also use like an oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. I have some sesame oil, which I will be using a little bit later. Butter's great, any fat that you have. So we're gonna go ahead and get that in here melting. And to get bacon fat, literally you just save the grease after you cook bacon and then keep it in a jar in the fridge. So this is starting to melt. I have 2 eggs that I scrambled. I'm gonna throw that in here. It's gonna go ahead and cook. And then we're gonna take that out once it is cooked. And let it kind of cool, and then we'll chop it up and we'll add it back in, but I like to cook that first. You want to use any large skillet you have. This is actually a wok, but a big cast iron skillet, a big pot would work. Anything that you can use on the stove that will hold a pretty large quantity of food. So while that's cooking, I'm going to go over the other ingredients. So we have our egg is a source of protein, and then the recipe also calls for 1 to 2 cups of any protein that you need. Like I said, ham would be awesome, pork would be awesome. A lot of times I'll get like pork chops and just chop them up and cook them in here. Leftover chicken, you could use shrimp, anything that you can think of. I haven't done it with beef before, but I'm sure it would be good. Tonight we are actually using tofu because that's what we have available. I will show you guys how to cook that, but it really cooks about the same. If it's leftover meat that has already been cooked, you can kind of save it and add it at the end. If it's meat that you need to cook, you're going to want to go ahead and add that right after the egg. Okay, so I actually tend to cook this on a higher heat. You know your kitchen better than I do, but I find that a higher heat cooks it a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to rinse out my bowl real quick. Be right back. Okay, I cleaned out my bowl. The egg is done. Go ahead and put that in here. Let that cool. We'll add it back in at the end. Now, for tofu, if you've never cooked with it before, it's really inexpensive. It is a good source of protein. And it doesn't have really any flavor at all, so it takes the flavor of what you have. So like I said, we're using bacon grease and tofu here. We're going to go ahead and throw that in. The tofu, I do like to cook it before, even though it's technically cooked, just because it gives it a little bit more firmness, because it can be a little mushy. So I'm going to probably add a little bit more of the fat that I have here. And I'm also going to just add a little bit of sesame oil. You don't have to add anything else, but I actually have a secret ingredient that I like to add, which is ginger. You can use powdered ginger. I've done that before. If you have fresh ginger, it just adds some good flavor. It's not that hard to find. Like, you can find it at any produce section of any grocery store, and you only need to buy like a little tiny piece, so it's generally only like 50 cents to get a piece of this to add. So then I just grate it, add that in there because I do like that flavor. Go back to mixing it up. Like I said, the heat's pretty high. So we're just going to cook this until it browns. So I will log back in and show you that then. Okay, we're back. The tofu is cooked up and warm, a little bit crispier. I'm going to add some more oil back into the pan. And now we're going to add our fresh veggies. So for me, what I'm going to be using is I had a piece of an onion in the fridge from another recipe. I chopped up a carrot. I actually have some fresh garlic that I'm growing outside, so I added that. So we're going to saute those. If you would have had me the last 2 weeks, we would have talked about sauteing, but sauteing really means just cooking things in oil, and it really softens the vegetables and it brings their flavors out. So we're going to saute those and soften them up, and that's going to take about 5 minutes. It is I still want it over a higher heat, so you do have to stay with it and stir it pretty regularly. I will then add my other ingredients. We had corn with our Thanksgiving meal, so we're going to throw that in there to use it up. And we are going to not Thanksgiving, Easter, my goodness. So, and then I have half a bag of frozen peas that we'll be putting there. This is really a clean out your refrigerator meal. You could add cabbage if you have some. You could add broccoli. Mixed vegetable mix is what I do a lot, like peas and carrots and corn and green beans all in one. If you have leftover green beans, you can do that. Peppers are good if your family likes peppers. Whatever you have, this is just a very, very basic recipe. So anything that you think is starting to spoil and you don't want it to spoil, throw it in here, okay? And then while that's still cooking, I want to show you the rice. You have a math problem this week to figure out how much rice you want to cook. I made mine already. It's here in this bowl. You do want to pre-cook your rice. I actually use the brown rice because, you know, I like whole grains. And I have found my kids don't complain about brown rice as much when it's cooked in fried rice. So we're going to use some brown rice. This is probably closer to 4 cups. The recipe calls for 2 to 3 cups. Again, it's a really flexible recipe, so you can use whatever you have. You have a math problem to solve though, because the recipe calls for way too much rice than you would ever need. So you're going to have to reduce the ratio and water to rice and follow the instructions to make your own. Here's the awesome news. If you're in 7th grade, that will count double. You can count it as one of your math activities as well as one of your family consumer science activities. So makes it a little bit more fun. So this is actually getting pretty close. I think we're going to go ahead and add the other ingredients. We're going to add the peas. They're frozen, so I add those next because they need a little bit more time to cook. So I added the fresh stuff that you needed to cook first. And then I add the frozen stuff and give them a little time to work. I'll lower the heat a little bit. And if at any point you think things are starting to get sticky and starting to stick to the side of the pan, you can always just add a little bit more oil. Now I haven't added any salt to this because we are actually going to be using soy sauce. Pretty common stuff to have. It basically will add that salt flavor for you. And it also gives it that sort of brown color that you're used to when you look at fried rice. Sometimes I like to add a little black pepper too. That's looking pretty good. You might go ahead and add the corn. Use that up. And like I said, if you have leftover Easter ham, this would be awesome in here. And nobody would think it had anything to do with eating Easter, which just makes it eating Easter dinner, so it makes it even better if you have people who don't like leftovers. Turn that back up again a little bit. And then as this cooks, I do know I need to add a little bit more oil because the rice tends to get sticky. So add a little bit more oil here in the bottom. Finish that up. And this is when we're going to add all of that rice. You want the pan to be nice and hot for this. And then I usually go ahead and just dump the soy sauce on. The recipe calls for 1/4 cup. That's about all that's left in this jar, so I'm going to use this up too. And I'm going to just break the rice up. If you have leftover rice from another recipe, it's really good to do that. Sometimes I will make extra rice earlier in the week if I want to make this meal. So you can make a bunch of rice at once and it saves time. So you're going to heat everything through. I will go ahead and stop the video here. Once it's nice and cooked through, I will show you adding in the rest of the ingredients. See you in a minute. All right, this is all mixed together. You have all your vegetables in there. and you've got the soy sauce and the rice, and it's starting to really get nice and a little bit crispy on the bottom, which you want some of that. Now we're gonna go ahead and add our protein back in, just to kind of mix evenly. Now, if you like things spicy, you can always add some chili peppers or some sriracha or whatever you've got. But if you like it plain, this will be good to go. This is the way my little kids like it. And then you can always add more soy sauce and hot sauce to the table. And it's a very, very fast, use up what you got meal. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoy it.